Now for the agenda itself was here a minute ago. I guess that's the part that you could probably put up on the screen.
You can pull it up too if you'd like. That's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
Looking at my files, and of course, iPads like to hide things in either the iPad device files, or they like to go online. So now it's super not helpful. Right. Thank you. All right. I guess we'll start with roll call.
Committee member Kneski,
Present.
Hart,
Here.
Bowers,
Here.
Rice, here, Goldman,
Here.
Lentz,
Here.
Russ, here, and Chair Fox.
Here.
And
All right,
yeah, committee member Penny is absent today.
Right. Do I have a motion for Penny?
I'll motion.
Excuse her accent. Okay.
Your absence.
All
Second.
right. All right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Any abstentions? No? All right. She's been excused. All right. Next up is approval of the minutes. I've reviewed the minutes, but I haven't, I was not at the meeting.
Yeah, I reviewed them. I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and I'll abstain. It passes. All right, so now we're moving right on to the item number 3, new event related fee structure. And Sean is going to provide some background.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thanks to the committee and Chris for inviting me to be part of this today. For those, many of you already know who I am, but if you don't, I am the special event permitting manager for the city of Vancouver. My main function for the city is to help organize through the permitting process and also manage a special event review team, which consists of city agencies who have additional permitting, so fire, police, parking, those sort of things, but also outside agencies, whether that's the health department, liquor license, those sort of things they need to collect, and also stakeholders who are potentially impacted by special events. So that could be the Indigo, the waterfront, farmers market, and health. That's my main role.
Can I do one real quick thing? You're going to see some of what he's going to talk about on screen, but in your packet, there's a Word version and a very detailed version. So you have a kind of a one pager should you want to reference that instead.
In terms of the lodging tax committee, one of my rules on for this committee is also to pre-vet some of these applications so that you don't get an application for a venue or a date that isn't even available, right? So it's the first part that we always try to look at every year. Somebody's not booking Esther Shore Park and I already have it booked and they're asking for money on a date that doesn't work. So that's usually the first part of the lodging tax, what we look at. Just on that part real fast, everything I looked at that asked for an Esther Shore or a location within the city all works on this list as far as a city venue. So those are all good to go. Give some thumbs up on that front. I'd also like to today talk about kind of the changing needs of event organizers at city and the fees associated with city services to support those events. Some of the changes we've had is understanding the downtown core and how busy it is. And events can't rely on just regular patrols. BPD and police contracts are going to be mandated if an event hits certain thresholds. Those thresholds could be fence event, ticketed, liquor license, significant traffic control, or just a large amount of people. With the farmers market, the waterfront, the downtown, and as soon as Main Street is done, you guys already been down here, you understand it's a lot of folks and we need to allocate the appropriate resources to do so and makes the event safe. That said, on this spreadsheet that you saw here, in order to have an officer, it's $103, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it starts stacking up when you have to have two, always have to have two, and then there's a lot of time that you have to have that as well. When you looked at some of that spreadsheet and those police costs, some of those costs for organizers is a new cost that they were paying in years past because they didn't need to have police. And so that's why that number is pretty significant. Also, the other departments, whether it be parking, has raised its fees. They're broadening their scope on the weekends. We used to not have, enforcement. You didn't have to pay on the weekends. You do now. So a lot of those parking fees have gone up, and also fire department as well. The other part of this extra short, we hadn't raised prices since before COVID. We kind of did grace period for a few years. And this last year was the first year that we raised that substantially to get closer to a market rate that is similar to the Spokane, the Tacoma, and also Portland. And we're still behind. Extra Short's actually a very affordable park compared to some of the other venues that we look at. So that has gone up a lot. So when you're seeing some of these applications, and they're probably referencing some of these costs in their requests, my goal was to have the committee have this in the back of their mind. When people are asking for money, what are they looking for, and what sort of needs of their event need to be supported, or city services need to be recouped for those departments. A couple of these, again, you can see the multi-day festivals, definitely very expensive. Another one I highlight, the police costs. I think I underdid it, was like Cruise the Couve. That's one that was before pandemic. You remember, a huge event that they used to have a bill close to $16,000 for police back in the day because they needed so many police officers to cover such a long stretch. And that's one that doesn't have a fee. There's no gate. You don't recoup money on that way to be able to pay some of those things too. And then a lot of the traffic control in order to support some of these walks and runs as well, having police, is where you're seeing a bunch of those costs. With that said, is there any questions, or Chris, anything you want me to add to there?
I think the only thing I would add is, when we get to the next agenda, but in two agenda items, when we start discussing the applications, the spreadsheet, which I did forward to you as well, so you have it in your email, but I'll be sharing on the screen, added a new column, just so you can see for the applicable events and festivals, what the city special event consolidated or aggregated special events are, as you kind of think about as another input into decisions you'll make later on. So we've included those in there kind of for reference point. And as you have probably seen in some of the applications, these fees are referenced by applicants as well. So we just kind of wanted to be transparent on what the fees are going to be going for. So
I will say too, on the police and even the parking, those are under estimates, I would say, because police is going to be going through a contract negotiation. Those rates will probably be going up in some a little bit. And then parking also going to continue to expand. And those meter hoods are going to be more expensive in the future as well.
Sean, I do have a question for you. Thank you for presenting this. So in looking at the list here, I noticed that some of them don't have any fees. So these fees are only applied to events that are happening in downtown? Or is it all of the city?
It's all the city. So I permit stuff throughout the entire city. These are just the ones that had applied. So that's why they were on this list I went through. Some don't require those things. So if there's nothing there, then there's the ones that wouldn't require it from the initial vetting of the event.
Okay, but there isn't a way for us to know, other than your list here, if there's going to be any associated fees and things for the
other ones?
For an event that is applying for a grant.
Maybe I'm not following that one. So you say anything that doesn't have a filled-in
So
spot?
there's half of this list approximately has nothing next to any of the boxes. So, and I noticed that they tend to not be downtown. So I'm wondering if we have a scoring, this in my mind, we have a scoring grade sheet that has points attributed to something if it's outside of downtown or it's inside of downtown. So depending on that, it could impact that. I'm just wondering if it's something that needs to maybe be also thought about
Highlighted.
in my mind. If it's not downtown, it doesn't have associated with it.
It depends, because you're outside the parking district, so if you close the street there, you don't have the parking fees, right? So that changes. Fire could still have that. You could still need police services. But like Hawkinson's Meadow Disc Golf, that's a venue that I don't manage, so I don't have fees to that. That wouldn't need police, wouldn't need all these things.
Okay.
So my estimate was based upon what I understand, and a lot of people are familiar with these events, and I could use those. For some of the brand new events, I don't have all that info. It can be, again, Port Vancouver Nutcracker, those sort of things, those dance ones, those aren't affected the same way and don't require the same sort of additional permitting.
Okay.
And some of these aren't events, they're programs.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't apply.
And again, sorry, I just stole whatever the sheet that they had here and started tapping in kind of these extra columns with the,
Yeah, no,
as I see it.
Chair Fox, just, they raise their placard when they have a question, so I don't know if you can probably see it from your vantage point, so I'll call
I
on them.
cannot see it. Okay.
Christie, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I was looking at the single day allotment versus the multiple day, didn't seem like the hourly wage was estimated in the same way. Are we underestimating the cost for a multi-day?
So I did it in the spreadsheet here, so that's for one day. So for the multi-day festival, that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's 3,500 times 3. And then even if you are, the setup day is a lower rate, but those are usually because we have fenced the park and we have taken the park away from the public, right? So that's why the fee's higher. On a single day, the reason it's only 2,000, because anybody could enter the park. It's still open to the public.
Okay,
And also you're not charging revenue by walking into the park. So that's where the breakdown between the two.
so the email you sent out with the daily, it had an hourly, it said the hourly rate was an amount.
Question.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me, John, jump in. So that's the document I sent yesterday was the draft administrative cost proposal. That is covering Sean's time,
Mhm.
just like our administrative cost proposal covers a portion of my time and Kimberly's and Andrew's and others. So that is different than fees. That is, our legal team last year, in looking at the RCWs, determined that we can cover staff costs associated with running the LTAC and associated kind of events. So that's more covering Sean's time. These are fees.
In addition to,
Yeah, so the city is basically taking a small percent of LTAC dollars and covering our administrative costs. These are fees that are being paid by event organizers. Does that make sense?
yes.
We'll have time to get into that more
No.
detail, but that's a really good, lots of fees, lots of things.
Sure. Well, I guess, so my question is more about those. So when we go to that section, I'll add that. Okay.
Do we have any other questions? Relying on those in the room to tell me. Janet and I don't have any questions. All right. Well, then let's move on to our next item. Thank you so much, staff, for bringing this forward.
Okay, next item, just wanted to confirm before we go into our kind of initial review of the applications. These were the disclosed conflicts of interest. You all did a really good job of when you had a conflict not scoring, so everything looked consistent on my end. I just wanted to have this opportunity one more time to confirm that from each of your perspectives, these are your disclosed conflicts of interest specific to the 28 applications. So if it looks good, I think we're good, but discussion or changes, now would be the time.
I think I accidentally scored on mine. So did you? just
I did take
that?
that one out. I black it out, so I can't even put it in, so
Okay.
I did catch that, yep.
One question, just procedurally, as we're discussing the scoring of these particular items, are individuals getting up and leaving the room, or how do you guys handle that?
Our attorney isn't here, but the way we handled that last year is we aren't making any kind of award decisions today, other than potentially moving candidates from into a second round, which would be more presentations. So the Oakville Fire Attorney was here. I would advise, if there's deliberation on an application, just like you would remove yourself from the room during a presentation, just maybe kind of stay quiet and not provide your input about should this candidate move on to a second kind of round conversation. That would be the guidance I would give there.
Can we
So-
follow?
So for today, we're just expecting those that have the conflict just to state, hey, I'm gonna stay silent during this part of the conversation, everyone. Is that the expectation?
That's what I would recommend.
Okay,
Is everyone comfortable with that?
yes. I'm comfortable with that.
Never
All
mind.
right.
Oh, no, you can ask questions.
No, I was just gonna say if we voluntarily left the room during
Oh.
discussion, is that okay?
We could, although if it was like last year, some were kind of working through it. So I think you're just abstaining from
Conversation.
adding additional input if we're specifically talking about it at the time. But it's not as, we didn't necessarily go one by one last time.
Got it.
Because you kind of wanted to see them.
We did when we voted, and
Yeah.
then that's when people left the room.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the presentations and voting, then it was certainly that way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, does this look like a complete list to everyone as well, to make sure that it's an accurate list?
I would just like to disclose that my last name is spelled with a Z, not an S.
Oh, that's my fault.
He
Yes.
picked it right.
Thank you, Chris.
Look at this.
Oh,
There we go.
live.
Officially official now.
You know why I think I did that? My kids both run in a cross country meet at Lentz Park tomorrow.
It's not something that has ever happened before.
Thank you for the catch. Always welcome. Did I spell anyone else's name wrong?
Oh, you got my name right. All right, well then let's move on to our next business, which is the crux of this entire conversation today.
I'm gonna pull up another document to share. And if you remember from last year, this one there's a lot on here, so why don't I kind of set the stage of what we're looking at? And then I think we can proceed. So, just so you know, it won't be a point of discussion today. I'll unhide it so you can see. But we will be, and I have a cell in yellow. When we get to a future conversation about award and award amounts, we will have the final kind of budget number up there. That draft administrative cost proposal that I sent out, we'll plug in our kind of estimates from there so that we can basically say, here's the full amount. We're gonna take out, for the time being, the proposed administrative cost proposal, which then leaves the amount that the kind of cap amount that could be awarded. You don't have to award the full amount, but could be. Today, we're not getting into that, so I'm gonna just hide some of that to make moving through the spreadsheet a little bit easier. And you do have a version of this in your email. Should you want to kind of see that after the meeting or when we discuss it in future meetings, I will have that. So let me go back and hide that. So what we have here is we have the 4 categories as each applicant applied under: cultural enrichment, large events, tourism org, and program or facility. Those are our 4 categories, and you can see obviously the applications with their project or event name under them. We have put the project budget. This is what they put in their application. This is the full cost of their program, event, or festival. Next to it is the amount that they asked for or are requesting through LTAC as just kind of reference points. This column D on here is what Sean just walked through. So these are the fee estimates, and it's just something to consider as we kind of go through this process. And then basically E, F, and G are your consolidated scores. So for each category, I put what's the max amount of points they could have received based on your scoring. And then below it, you can see what the average was between, I'll say the 9 EU, but obviously we did not include scoring where you had conflicts of interest. So in some cases, it's less than 9. But that's the average. And I also put next to it the percent of points possible. So you can kind of see there, and then a category rank. So within that category, obviously it's based on the average score. This is kind of how they ranked from a scoring perspective. Today, so that's the spreadsheet. That's the information we have. We can go into more details if people want to see kind of stuff related to it. This is the individual scoring spreadsheets you have consolidated in. So we can reference some of those data points if needed. I can pull up the other scoring sheet if needed. We didn't need to do that last year, but we have lots of information should we need to get into that. Chair Fox, do you want me to kind of tee up some early thinking about round 2? And then we don't have to decide that today or right now, but maybe tee up some of those options that we talked about. Go through this.
Let's raise that just so folks can kind of think on it as we're moving through the
Okay.
spreadsheet. Yeah.
So Chair, would you like me to do that, or would you like?
I can, how about you add to it? But what as you all know, I have not been at chair of your meeting before or part of this committee, but I do bring to this work my lens from my other job, which is working for the state of Washington, and I run a few grant programs for them. Specifically, I had managed a program that provided a few $1 million in grant funds to advancing what we call the Advancing Meaningful Engagement Grant, which was to help with engagement efforts with vulnerable communities throughout the state of Washington. And why I'm bringing this up is because it seems very kind of a similar endeavor of some of the goals of this particular program. When I looked over the scoring matrix that you guys had developed over the last, as I heard, over the last few years, you guys have really perfected your scoring matrix, which I really appreciated. But why I'm bringing this up is, if that population, tends to be a bit burdened with filling out a lot of grants, to run their operations, and are at the mercy of these processes to really keep doing the work that they're inspired to do. And so I questioned Chris when I was talking to him about why would we require them to come in and provide a presentation to us if their applications themselves seem pretty clear. And I'm reading the applications, obviously, again, from a different lens than all of you who have been involved in this for more years than I, but they seem pretty clear, most of these applications, of what they're asking for and what they're planning to do with the funds if they're received. And so I don't see a reason to bring them in for any particular interviews. And I would think that would be helping, again, kind of return their time to them if it's not really necessary for us making decisions. So I just wanted to put that out on the table that I'm, like to us discuss whether or not we really need to have individual individual agencies come in and provide their presentations to us. Is there more to that, Chris, that I missed?
I think that's the kind of the bigger question, and there are options. So as you know, we have a fair number of meetings held on your calendars for that process. So there are options here. We could move forward with a kind of no presentation option. We could, that's on one end. On the other end is like how it was handled last year. A certain number are moved to the second round, and they're all invited to come in for, they were 10-minute presentations with a little transition. They present for 5 minutes, Q&A for 5 minutes. And then we had a 5-minute turnover to get the new presenter in, so we could replicate what was last year. There are potentially hybrid options in there. Maybe not everyone is deemed necessarily to come in for a presentation, so you could, there may be a few or a certain number that you feel like, yeah, we do really need to learn more about it before we make a decision. So that could be done on a smaller set of presentations. Or it could be we do it more digitally, I would say. Maybe there are some follow-up questions that you would like applicants to answer, and we would send those questions kind of via email format like that. Give them a deadline to respond, share those answers back out, and have that additional information. So believe any of that can work, however you deem how you want to handle this kind of conversation. So why don't I pause there, see if anyone has any thoughts. I see Terry has his, I'm looking online, Terry has his placard up.
Okay,
Thank you,
Terry.
Chris. Thank you, Chair. I found the presentations last year incredibly helpful, as you can only learn so much about an organization on paper, in my personal opinion, and having them come and present, even though it was a brief amount of time, and then the questions that came from the other members of the committee were helpful in my decision-making process as a member of this advisory committee. So that's my perspective, is I thought it was very helpful, and I would like to see something similar, because I just feel there's only so much you can learn by reading it on paper, and it's better in person, in my opinion.
Terry, what changed after the presentations for you when it came to scoring?
It's a great question. Nothing necessarily changed in my scoring, but it just gave me a better perspective on what something was looking for. For example, I'm just going to use one as an example. I had no idea, even after reading it, what the Go Fest celebration is. I mean, I read it, I was like, okay, Pokemon, yeah, sure. But having the presenter come in and talk about that particular event opened my eyes to what it really does for the city of Vancouver and for the community, much more than just reading on paper would have done.
So did it influence how much funding you thought they should be awarded then, if it didn't change your scoring?
It influenced my desirability to say yes to something versus say no to something.
Okay. Thanks, Terry.
I love it.
Chair Fox, I'll keep calling on folks.
Okay,
the-
because I can't see them.
I'll keep doing
Steve
that.
was first.
Stephen, okay, we'll do Steve and then Christie.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chair Fox. So for me, I kind of echo what Terry said on having folks come in and give presentations. I've been on this board. This is my actual last year that I'm eligible to be on the board. I've met my term limit, but I have found over the years that folks that are filling out their information packets don't always fill them out the same across the board. And going through even this year and looking at some of the estimates, for instance, for some of the room nights, I think a lot of them are maybe on the higher end of what I would estimate being in a lodging, but hospitality realm here in the city. And so for me, being able to actually listen to how they got to that number, talk to them about what they did and maybe ask them about questions about events that they've had in other areas that are similar, perhaps that they've put on, versus if it's a first time event here, which is really the spirit for me. I think on this board is we're here to try to help promote new events to our market. And in fact, where there's some on here, I'm sure we'll talk about, that have come year after year after year for a long time. And we are trying as a committee, or have been trying in the past, to not support something after so many years that should be able to support themselves on a positive event. So for me, it would be helpful to hear about some clarification on some of these events and groups on where they're coming up with some of their facts and figures, and then being able to then adjust my personal scoring on my sheet potentially if it's different.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I didn't know there was gonna be questions there. So, thank you. I echo Steve's comments in regards to the, validating of the guest room nights. I think it's a very confusing question for them and also could provide a little bit more of an education element for those. I believe it's voluntary. It's not required, right, for them to do the presentations?
It's optional.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then I also found that it gave us an opportunity to see the quality of the marketing in some of those, and that did kind of change our opinions as a group on funding based on what we saw, both increasing and decreasing what our original was based on the quality of what they were putting out there.
Who's speaking? Sorry.
Christy Rest.
Oh, Christy. Christy, one of the question on that one is, did you use it as an opportunity to provide, some, I guess, some coaching or feedback then?
I don't recall us really having engagement with them. There was a bit of question and answer at the end of the presentations, but as a committee, we didn't necessarily do that. I think one takeaway we had from that process is that we tried to add the element with the coaching sessions that Visit Vancouver was giving as an option for this year in the application process.
Okay, thank you. Still relying on staff.
Let's do Temple. Sorry, I may be slightly out of order. We'll go Temple next.
I also just want to point out, we've got Janet on the screen.
Oh, we have to, okay.
Thank you. I appreciated a lot of the in-person interviews last year, which was my, I think, first year, maybe second. There were a couple of presentations that did affect how I landed on them. I'd say one specifically was there was a youth sports tournament that because I don't travel in that world, I really didn't understand it. So it helped me understand it and understand the benefit to the community and sort of how the whole thing works as far as bringing tourism and folks to the community. So that was helpful. Their application was good, but it was just additional information that if you're not in that world, you just don't know. I appreciate, though, the question being raised about the interviews, because I think that it also represents, for this committee, we're in a transitional and growth place. And if the amount of funds available and if the amount of applications we receive continues to grow, or even if just the amount of applications, even without the funds available, continues to grow, then a way to streamline the work we're doing is going to be necessary. So thinking about whether we need to interview everybody and how is a very worthwhile question. There are a number of entries that we are very familiar with and probably don't need to interview. That there becomes an equity question of how do we determine that? And I don't know the answer. But I think that perhaps once we decide who we want to have back for round 2, we maybe take a closer look at that and make sure that all of them need an interview, whether it's because we're all like, yes, we're going to give them what they want. Do we need to see it? Or are we bringing them back just because we have additional questions, which I think is maybe where we should head, even if it's transitional and we don't fully get there. It's maybe a little short notice to write new policies and procedures, but that could be a way that we help streamline the process as we go. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Why don't we do
Janet?
online and then Carla, then Ryan?
I would echo everybody's. I do appreciate the question and do think that there should be some follow-up discussion on it. For my first year was last year on the committee. I think having the candidates in did give a different perspective. I do see a big change from last year to this year with the adoption of a lot of the proposals being made by ChatGPT or another AI, which left out a lot of substance for me that I was able to get in those conversations. Where it came more important for me last year in the first round or in the follow-up scoring was really when we got down to the end where people were scoring neck and neck and the committee needed to make a decision on where the remaining funding was going. So that's really, and then understanding the presentations from a stewardship level, I appreciated knowing more, being able to have that conversation. So as we're spending taxpayer dollars, it was nice to be able to get a little bit rounder picture to make sure that at least my scoring, it was something that I could stand behind. But yeah, I think this opens up a lot of other questions that we need to have between this second year of the new module moving forward.
Thanks, Janet.
I largely, again, agree with the group, agree with what Janet just said. I think the AI thing and the ChatGPT on the application is actually a really good point. If you were reading through some of them, you can see where what they wrote didn't make sense and they were referencing the wrong year. So based on that information, I may vote one way and change it. But in years past too, I would say, like, we've had a couple people come in that I was dead set against. And somebody else in the office, maybe someone does just the financials applied and they didn't have the full story. So I do think it's very important, given the opportunity. Again, it's not mandatory.
Right, Ryan?
Yep, I agree with the group as well. I found the interviews to be very helpful last year. I believe that they helped us reach more informed decisions on some of the candidates or applicants. So my 2 cents.
Final question for all you guys. I'm hearing this discussion about ChatGPT. Do we need to tee that up for future discussion too about how we feel about that? I know that it seems as if there was some concern maybe being raised about using ChatGPT.
For me, I don't think it was a concern when I
Oh.
raised it. It was just acknowledgement that it was evident and it actually left a lot more questions in my mind. And if we were scoring based on information that chat was putting in, let's say, I can't remember who said it, a different year, right? Do we score that down or give them an opportunity to correct that? Is that something that we give everybody an opportunity to correct, or just one person if it is going to affect a score? It was really just more evident this year. I think it's here to stay. And I think it's just like an application process. It's going to be on the organization to do a better job of researching and prompting, just like they would if they were sitting down to write it without.
Got it. Are there any more placards up?
There are not. And what I will say, if you remember from last year, we learn something every year. So I always take notes. Sometimes you guys send me emails saying, hey, let's think about the process for next year. So I'm just capturing this, and usually in January, February, once we get through this, we sit back and reevaluate the process. And as I think Christy pointed out, that was one reason that we did the coaching partnership with Visit Vancouver to help applicants better estimate room nights and those types of things. So we'll capturing all this for kind of future discussion. So.
No, I appreciate everyone weighing in on this. Obviously, like I said, my experience comes as that this would be considered a kind of a burden on applicants, but it sounds as if it's been very valuable for all of you, and perhaps we can figure out a way to move forward without having to interview every single applicant too. That's moving forward. All right, so next up is us just diving right into the evaluations, right, Chris?
It is, although I maybe would like to go back to one of the conflict of interest topics and questions that was raised. Our city attorney office representative, Curtis Burns, is on. Please hearing me. Curtis, there is.
That is correct.
Okay, the question was raised. Let me try and paraphrase it. I can't remember who asked it specifically. If I'm not phrasing it right, please jump in. As you know, Curtis, we went through a process to disclose conflicts of interest. How we handle that is members recuse themselves from, in this case, the second round. When there's presentations, they leave the room, and then obviously they abstain from voting on award recommendations to council when we get to that phase. The question today was, we're not making any award recommendations or award amount recommendations today, but we are determining who potentially moves on to a second round, which is kind of what we were just discussing. How should members handle that? Should they just abstain from kind of providing input? What's the best kind of, I think they're asking for some guidance on how to handle today's scenario of, with the big task today is who moves on to the second round.
My answer to that would be that, well, actually, first of all, I need to apologize for being late for attending. I had a court matter that went long. Now that I've got that side, I would say my answer is what you suggested. To avoid from presenting any input, and I think even further than that, any reaction to discussion. So it doesn't appear that there's any influence going on, and I think that would be fine.
Does everyone feel comfortable with that? Chair Fox, do you feel comfortable with that?
I do, yes. And future meetings, I'll be obviously able to be there in person, so it'd be easier to see how
Yes.
folks are influencing or not influencing the discussion.
Okay, so let me tee this up and I'll really kind of turn it over to you on the committee. We have data in front of us. I can go anywhere you would like to go with this. If I remember from last year, one starting point is who maybe not to move to the second round. Last year, that was a smaller number than who we moved, but I'll kind of leave it up to you. And anyone who kind of wants to initiate that kind of conversation. I'll turn the floor over to the committee.
One of my initial questions on this would be, are we looking right now at the funding availability before we make a decision, as far as how many we are potentially able to fund, or are we just basing it on our scoring?
We have more. Let me see if I can answer that. We have $2.481 million of asks. And we will roughly have, when we get to the award amount, so in one of the future meetings, we'll have the more precise number. But we roughly have somewhere between 1.8, I think you were seeing kind of 1.8 million for next year. So not everyone can get their full ask on that amount. So there is, in this case, constrained resources, can't fund everyone at their ask amount. If that helps kind of answer the question. We are not, if we're following the process we did last year, committee, we're not making any award amount recommendations today. Today is strictly who do we think bubbles up to the top to move on to that second round, kind of make it to the second round deliberation. Does that help, Chair Fox?
It does, but it also kind of helps me understand the level of cuts we might have to make in our decision making too. When you know that you have more, sometimes I've been in the situation where I have more award money than I have asks. So I feel like there could be more generosity in reviewing an application, but that is not where we're at today. So
we're about $600,000 over in asks versus what we will likely have to award.
okay.
And this is a reminder, you do not have to award the full amount. So, okay.
Right. All right.
We
Well,
do
let's
have
start.
We do have some placards up, so.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who went first. We'll do Christie.
So I would love to open discussion. Thank you for the tourism shuttle and cultural tour by the 4 Days of Aloha. The way that I read that was more of a shuttle to support airport transportation more than a downtown commuter, which I think we have a great need for. Hoteliers can tell you that an airport shuttle is very costly and hard to maintain. And a lot of what they referenced they would be using the shuttle for, the dual purpose, most likely couldn't be met because the demands are at the same time. Airport transportation would need to be taking place at the same time. We need it to be more of a commuter shuttle in the downtown or the location of the festivals. So I just wanted to open that one up for discussion.
You know, Christy, I really appreciate that. When I read it as well, I thought the idea could be built upon, and if they brought something back that showed some kind of partnership, maybe with our Historic Preservation Commission or one of our other historic touring companies that perhaps would lend more of a tour experience level to their proposal, would be more attractive to me as well. Are there other placards up about this particular item?
Particular this item, we'll do
Yeah.
Steve and then Temple.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I was in agreement. I had that on my list as something that probably isn't feasible. And there are other avenues potentially that are already existing from other third-party companies that maybe they can partner with to achieve their goal.
General agreement. I think it's an interesting idea, but for the purposes of using these dollars, I think that it would be a better investment for LTAC to see if this is rather than fully funding their startup, seeing if it's something that they can, if they really want to go into this line of business, start it. And perhaps it's something we can support once they've demonstrated these partnerships with cultural tourism groups and things like that. Otherwise, I don't know that it has the substance that we would need to support it right out of the gate.
Terry has placard up.
Yeah, I would agree. There was no business plan. There was just an idea, and it seemed to me, as I was reading, it was more like Christy had alluded to, that it was more about providing transportation for their group while they're in town. And that did not seem like a wise investment of ours, of the city's funds.
Agreed.
Are there any other placards up?
Ryan just.
Yeah,
put his
it's
up.
just a very high dollar amount as well too, for all the uncertainty that surrounds it. So I share those views.
Yeah. So it
And
sounds
we-
like there's consensus then around dropping this one from round 2.
I agree with that. My other question in the beginning was, did we know if we had any funds left over from last year that are going to be increasing our gift?
We are on spend out. Up here.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what was said just now.
The question was, are there any funds rolling over from last year to this year that would increase the potential amount we would have to grant? And Andrew, who's our management analyst, said we are on track to spend the full amount. So we're not anticipating any rollover dollars. And Temple has her placard up.
There's another event under large events that I want to raise some concerns about. The Tacos, Taps and Tequila Festival. I think it's an interesting application. However, I want to raise a slightly awkward flag, which is that the application stated that the event would be held at the Grant House on the Historic Reserve, which my organization manages. And no application has been put in for that site, no conversation. Well, substantially after the application was submitted and I raised a question, the organization reached out. So until that time, there had been no conversation with the trust or the Park Service about the site and using it. The Parks Department for the city also had not really, they don't permit the site itself. They give city permits for traffic and things like that. So they'd had a conversation around that, but hadn't given an okay to it. So I'm a little concerned about an application being submitted without a site. The reason they wanted the reserve site is because I guess the date they were looking for, that there was something at Esther Short. That's what they had talked with the city about first. In my conversation with the event organizer, didn't give them a yes or no because they haven't actually applied for something. I don't, given that lack of a major piece, I have other concerns about the application being well thought through or not. So I don't necessarily have a one way or another. I just wanted to raise that. Their other application and their other event, the Oktoberfest, I think seems to have turned out well. I think it was good. They can probably pull this off, but should it not happen at the reserve, they don't have a site for it, and that's problematic to me.
Christie has her placard up.
Christie?
I can see your concern there. I think that if we continue this discussion, my concern with the Pokemon Go Fest is that based on their requirements, as we heard during their presentation, they can't confirm that date until I think 90 days out based on the national Pokemon guidelines. And so that concerns me for two reasons: that they don't know what their date is, so how do you plan towards it? And then if our kind of main purpose is to support these marketing efforts, what is 90 days exposure for something when it comes to these dollar amounts? But we worked through it. It was a successful event for Pokemon Go, I think. But those, I think, come up a little bit more frequently than we think.
Could we, so we've got two kind of flags on two of them. I would think we should probably settle on tacos and taps first as to how we want to handle that one moving forward. And then we can move to the Go Fest.
Just gonna in red.
Yeah. So for me, that would be new information on the you know, not contacting the site that you want to have the event. Seems to me, I would agree that's a kind of a red flag for me when you're planning a festival. So it shouldn't have been news to the site that you're hosting it at. So that would affect the score I gave them if I had known that. How do the other board members feel about that information? And I
We'll
remember
do-
I can't see your placards.
And then Terry.
Okay.
I agree that it could be problematic. I would think that as an organizer, you should have the event at least well planned out and options secured in order to be awarded funds. They should have their main factors because we shouldn't be the deciding factor in their event.
Terry.
No, I'm good.
I would say for that, you know, I would not move it to the second round is what I'm proposing, and to say to them, you know, this doesn't affect their application for next year if they bring it forward with, you know, those important details already worked out before they make the application. What do others think of that?
I think this is Temple. I think I would support that. Yeah, this was a very difficult feeling, but I don't think that it would be a wise direction for LTAC to go, though hopefully they can solidify it and get some plans. And if it becomes something great, whether at that site or at Esther Short or somewhere else, fantastic. But it's pretty last minute to not have a site for an event you want to do in July. That's that big.
Christie.
Okay.
And then we'll go to Janet online. Sorry, Janet.
Okay.
I agree with the timeframes. I believe we had a applicant last year that had a first quarter that the event did not happen. That was extremely disappointing to know that we funded it based on those timeframes at that time. So especially those that are coming up the first part of the year, that would be something we would want.
Janet,
So objectively, I think there's, is big concern for, tacos, taps and tequila not to have, their locations secured, calling into question the rest of the application. But sitting here, I also don't know if the Vancouver Holiday Market has secured the Hilton's contract or Pollinator Festival, wherever they are. So I just want to throw that out there. How do we know, outside of just a one-off who might be in this, how many others fall into that same category as we're making these decisions? I don't have an answer. I'm just throwing it out there.
That's a great
I
question.
agree with it. It's just,
Carla, get her placard up.
In years past, one of the things for being able to apply was making sure that you had secured your permits. So we did kind of used to have a checks and balance for that they had a venue secured or permitting secured for the event. It did used to be one of the things we did look at.
I can,
Is actually, it was in the questionnaire and
but specific to city,
it's specific to city, and that is actually, I don't want to continue to pile on tacos and taps, but, in their application, they said they did not need a permit and so had not applied for one.
they've applied, but they haven't received it. If required, have you received your special event permit? No. If required, have you applied for your special event permit? And the answer was yes.
And they, according to the city, that is not factually correct. It's, if somebody doesn't present facts, correct facts on their application, we don't necessarily have a way of knowing unless there is a situation like this one. But I think for the most part, there is an indication if they have secured a venue or not.
It would have to be through that question.
And I'm noticing that it scored lower as well from, if it's numbers 16 out of 19 as well. So there are obviously other things that were worrisome to the reviewers.
That's a good point. There are 20 in the large event category, and this one ranked 16th in terms of where it kind of fell on there. Terry has his placard up, and then Janet, I think I don't know if yours is up from last time or, okay.
My just comment would be, actually, no, it's for the next thing. Sorry, I'm gonna retract and have nothing this time.
I'd say that even what we're deciding right now might not be our final decision at the end as well, but it's at least a first swipe at those that might not advance. Should we just consider that? Yeah.
It doesn't, and a no for now? Maybe we'll
No.
come back. Okay. Yeah.
And then the Go Fest was the second one raised for concerns. I didn't catch that in the application about the date not being certain. I'm not sure I'm so worried about the date when I'm thinking about funding. We don't, as a city, if they don't hold the event, then they don't receive the money. Is that, am I taking that idea too lightly, or should I be looking at that differently?
So I felt that we had that question answered last year, that they're waiting on the national organization or international organization to pick that date for them, and they can't advertise it until a certain point. And I felt that the recipients successfully answered that question, that we decided as a committee last year to overcome that and to be able to still recommend them for funding. So, I don't have that same concern with GoFest this year, because again, they're waiting for the thumbs up essentially from the national or international organization that helps determine those dates. So, and it was they were successful before they received our grant. They were successful when they received our grant. So that's just my take on that particular one, but point taken for sure.
Are there, it scored really high as a group score. So were there other concerns aside from the date aspect that we should talk about?
Carla and Christy have their placards up, so maybe, I don't know if the answer to that direct question, but Carla.
Well, I'm in agreement with Terry, and I would also say that the other thing is that their target audience knows that that date's coming, so they're waiting for that date, and it has been successful. I personally do think the ask is too much, but so far as the date itself with them in particular, I think that their demographic realizes that that's what's going to happen, and they're waiting and watching for that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, thank you. I overall support the event, but with the comment of, do we move forward with applications that have their venue secured? That's where I raise the concern. And then I think there is more concern of, yes, local individuals or local following knows that that's coming, but those that need to plan for travel to the area, a 90-day marketing campaign is very limited when you have other options that have a full year to be able to market to their event. That was too clarifying, is that the technically it's Main Street, not a venue. So I think there's flexibility. Multiple things could happen on a Main Street, but they technically don't have their venue.
And you're thinking also that the 90 days would affect those hotel stay nights potentially then as well.
Correct.
So could we just put this one we can move this one forward, but we can have some notes there about the funding based on some of these overnight stay concerns? At least for now, just pencil that in. Is that all right with everyone?
Yep.
Okay. Are there any others that really stood out that we should talk about right now, or could we maybe kind of start at the bottom, some of the ones that scored the least, and then talk about those next?
Hey, Steve, at the placard.
Yeah, thank you. So the ones that stood out to me, there's actually 4 that are all kind of to me the same thing. And that's the 4 races by Y Racing. This would be one that I spoke about earlier today. An event that has come back year after year after year. My recollection of last year, we provided funding significantly less than they're asking. And I believe, if my memory recalls, this was kind of like our signal that, hey, this is the last year that we would be looking at providing funding for these events. And so I flagged those and graded them accordingly. I think I gave actually a 0 because of that on my grading score when I sent that over to you, Chris. So those 4 stood out to me as ones I would not want to move forward with.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like most of us agreed with you then as well. The scores are pretty low there overall. Now, I obviously haven't been making those decisions over the past few years about funding and what's been communicated to them. Has anything been communicated to them about the availability of ongoing funding?
Are you answering that question?
With a significant change or, yeah. Go.
No, you do go. I don't.
I think that everybody has been made aware that we were looking to limit the funding unless there was a significant change or something different.
Yeah, let me clarify that. On the larger, when you go to the program summaries, the categories for each of the 4 grant categories, in the large event or festival, there is committee guidance that says, if you've received funding 2 years in a row, you would be looking for them to demonstrate a significant, I think we even have 20% as kind of a target increase in attendance, and or demonstrate that they're bringing in new audiences to that particular event. So maybe a community that hasn't traditionally participated, they're making an effort there. The caveat with that is we started these 4 grants last year and this year. So we're not to that threshold of 2 years saying they'd be ineligible yet. We were just more giving folks forewarning. Next year, you'll have gone, assuming we have the same categories and keep the same language, that would probably be more of a strict criteria, but you can handle that however you want technically.
I think during interview, they had in prior years also been told that we're not looking to continue to fund the same events over and over. I know that had been brought up with quite a few of us that were here at the time as well. I also thought on those particular ones that looking at the numbers, their attendance was short everything that they anticipated last year. Attendance numbers weren't there, and I didn't feel that anything that they're saying made me feel confident that that would drastically change this year either.
Looks like the only event out of the 4 that really scored well was the marathon.
And that's what I was gonna say. This is Terry. The marathon and the triathlon to me are two set apart a little bit because the marathon is a Boston qualifier. That's a big deal because there aren't as many of those. And so that I think helps their score for me and did.
Mhm.
And the triathlon, because it is unique, it's the only triathlon that's here that I'm aware of. I mean, that's a women's triathlon, if I had understood the application correctly. So that was also unique, whereas the 2 runs, part of why I also, along with the rest of the community members, scored them low is that they're fun runs that while they may be good for the community, they're the same thing essentially at different times of the year.
Christie, you guys are applying for that?
Yeah, I agree with Terry on the marathon and the triathlon. And if we went down the road with the not funding event, then I think we'd need to identify the others that are on here as well, which could be on your list. I know you started with these, but I believe the Wine and Jazz, 4 Days of Aloha, there's multiple here that have that I don't know because in my thoughts, because we started off the application process last year with a fresh start, this would be that second year before we made that official decision. So I would have those concerns, but I agree with Terry on the 2.
Very-
How about for now, we advance just the marathon and the triathlon applications?
Well, I'm gonna propose something different if I may, Madam Chair.
Okay.
This is Terry. I think we can advance all 4, but I think that we look at the funding level. You know, especially like if we look at maybe just their city incorporated fees or something for at least the 2 runs that we might consider.
Mhm.
Instead of their ask of 18,000 and 14,500. And that the marathon and the triathlon, we do consider differently because they are more impactful. So I actually think all 4 should be moved forward, but, people may disagree with me, and that's of course valid, but I think that all 4 should be moved forward, but I think just that we as a committee look at ways to limit their funding. Because I do agree that Girlfriends Run and Clover Run are important events to the community. Are they helping promote tourism? Not necessarily, but maybe we could still support them at a much lower level that helps offset some of their fees.
I did find their economic analysis portions of those applications compelling. They're bringing forward information from national sources. I'm not sure how valid it is. You guys all are more experts than me, but that was a compelling piece of why I had scored them a little higher than maybe some of you did. But if we were going to make hard cuts, I'd say coming in at 18 and 19 doesn't typically, in my mind, make a cut to move forward. Are we a
Temple.
split group on this one?
We'll do Temple and then Terry.
I do agree about the marathon and the triathlon. So as far as the other 2 moving forward, since we can all listen, none of this is etched in stone. It's in teams. We can make changes. I think that for the purposes of moving forward, perhaps not advancing the 2 local races. And let's see where we are.
Fair enough.
Okay, so it would be Girlfriends and Clover as of this moment. Okay. Is that correct? Okay.
Right, for now.
Yeah.
And then, could I speak to the Wine and Jazz Festival application? I heard, honestly, what I was reading was that they had added a new aspect to that, to their event series. That I was at the water, near the Water Resources Center, and that seemed, with the silent movie, and I really thought that sounded cool, and I could buy into their idea that that would bring in a different audience of, kind of that family audience looking for something to do, go watch a silent movie, some things we used to do here in Vancouver, when we had the Old Milt's Pizza place, it kind of brought that to mind. Um, so I was compelled by that idea of funding that piece of their application. And if we were looking for them, to basically add something new to to an annual type of event, it seems like they brought that. Am I wrong? Or did you guys read something else?
Christy has her placard up.
Thank you. I recall that being in their application last year. I don't know firsthand if they executed it. And my concern with that location is it feasible for it to produce the numbers that they referenced in the application?
There
Very
anyone
yes.
else? Okay.
I just find that their numbers are highly inflated. I just think that a lot of the numbers were, in my opinion, were inflated, but I felt that the Wine and Jazz were, as far as, they've got the tracking for ticket sales, which is good, and it backs it up what they're saying. I think that they're tracking for hotel room nights. I'd want to learn more about how they do that, because I don't think that they have the volume that they say they do.
Christy?
I feel like they referenced their room nights in their application. I think their attendance for the event might be inflated, but I felt like their room nights might have been fairly accurate. But that'd be great to pull it up.
So these are I'm gonna go to their detailed.
Sure, yeah.
More detailed one. These are the numbers that they provided in their application in terms of attendance. Obviously, we have various ways we look at attendance, as well as the lodging, right?
Yeah, so 150 total. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And so 150 nights over a multi-day event seems too high. Is that what you guys are thinking?
No, I withdraw my comment. Sorry.
Oh. I mean, I did pick up that in their application that if the funding isn't received at the level that they're asking, that they wouldn't move forward with this particular new piece of the event. And I would say if we move forward with them, that we make it clear that that funding is only for this particular new piece of their proposal, not to just pay for city fees, which I perhaps is what you guys are saying happened last year. Perhaps maybe they didn't move forward with this new idea and only paid for the fees from the city. Is that right, Chris?
All I can say, this is Christy, is that I recall it being in the application last year, but I can't say, yes, they had it. I didn't go down to the Tidewater Cove area to know if they actually executed the event, but they did propose it as their new piece in their last year's application.
You're talking specific to the concert series?
Yes.
Do you know Andrew from reporting on that one? We may have to follow up with Sean on that.
And the reporting is just the total numbers. Typically, they don't leave much of a narrative of what they actually did. We could go into the reimbursement request and see what we reimburse them for.
Yeah. Can you make a note and we can just, we'll have to, I think, outside this meeting,
Yeah.
kind of back and look at some
Yeah,
of
could
the.
you guys follow up on that piece and let us know what that looks like? Because they obviously didn't score very high cumulatively with everyone. But if we had more information around that, maybe that would change our views on it.
Temple has her placard up.
I support getting more information on that. Looking at their application, they claimed that the grant money was used for marketing. And then had a slightly petulant comment that the amount they got was negated by city fees. But I do recall that the ask was specifically related to the expansion. So it would be good to know if that is something that occurred and how it went and can they report on it. All of the other reporting they're doing relates to the overall festival itself. Maybe an approach would be to move it forward with the asterisk of let's get some more information. Or vice versa, not with the asterisk.
Do either. Steve has his placard up.
Yeah, thanks. My comment would be similar to the Y Racing. This event has been around for longer than I've even been on the board. And I remember my first year or two, the board then talking about whether or not we want to continue to fund this specific event. I would be okay not having to move forward personally.
Well-established event. It's not going away.
And the expenses for the Wine and Jazz Festival last year to pay for the bands, the actual performers.
So not what they put in their application.
Correct.
Awesome.
What was that last comment?
So not what they put in their application then. Just for consistency's sake, that's a fun fact.
There's definitely some concerns. I would say this one, yeah, probably shouldn't move forward, but given some of the concerns, but I agree that staff, it would be great to come back to us. Can we, instead of saying a solid no on this one, perhaps we just code it yellow and add additional information that if verified as true, then it can move forward if they actually utilize the funding as awarded.
Okay. Yeah, well,
That makes sense?
we can follow up on that. Yep.
Okay. What about Cruise the Couve at 20? Coming in at last place. What are some reasons why this one shouldn't advance or should advance?
Terry has his placard up.
I just felt that their ask for the amount of money based on what their total event cost was just astronomical in comparison. And it's one of the reasons, and it's also a long-term established event that's not going anywhere. It's gonna happen whether we give them funding or not.
Isn't the problem though that if it moves forward without our support, they're not gonna have porta potties or police presence and things that actually should be in place for this event not to cause a lot of chaos?
No, I think I can answer this. Whether LTAC awards money or not, they still have to go through the permitting process. So if LTAC chose not to award them and they chose to hold the event, they still have to comply with all permitting and pay all the fees. So if they wanted to hold the event, John and his team and that coordination would still occur.
All right. Yeah, it doesn't check
Sorry,
too many
Christy.
boxes
Christy,
for me
that's
either.
right.
Christy,
So-
okay.
Yes, thank you. There has been a change of ownership from this organization, so it's almost as if between the pandemic, I would say it's almost as if it's a new event. I like the destination draw for this event as it focuses on our Main Street, which we will need to have like a whole marketing strategy once the Main Street promise. So I'd like to see us to continue to support this event, but it does have newer ownership.
I can speak to Main Street. That event will not be happening on Main Street next. It will still be under construction through 2026. So won't go up and down. Certainly the blocks that are on Main Street that are under construction. Christy.
Which I think makes it harder for it to have longevity right now because it's going to have to move its traditional location.
Carla has her placard up.
I could be swayed on this one, but I do think the ask is crazy. It's just too much compared to the full budget.
And we don't have to make award amount decisions today. So,
I'm just throwing, maybe
uh,
it's a maybe.
Ryan and then Steve.
I think the ask was crazy as well too, just in terms of the amount and for me, it just didn't check the boxes. There were really no formal efforts for local spending, low recycling, composting score, low score for transportation, so on and so forth. So it was, if not the lowest score,
It was.
just for those reasons. Yeah, so it
Yeah,
was
no.
among the lowest.
I agree with that assessment. And I was also in my mind, thinking about all of the other kind of classic car shows and things that we have around the county, not just the city, throughout the year too, is something that is this really gonna bring forth more out of town folks to try to replenish the LTAC, funds and fees, which is why we're here.
That's a good point about the other events that happen in some of our other surrounding cities, when it comes to car shows and and why this one is not that unique compared to those. Janet,
When I was scoring this, I was looking at what was the real draw from the outside, other than being only community. The hotel rooms, I had question. I did like that they were putting in an application that asked, or that would include the permit fees, because I think in years past, the fees were so high that I think they did them unsanctioned. Is probably what you were referring to, and proud of it. So it's nice that it's under new ownership that's thinking about that. But when we looked at the composting and we looked at the environmental aspect that we as a group spent a lot of time on at the beginning, this seems to have the opposite of what we were looking for when we were looking for idling cars, burnouts, etc. So it all of it just seemed a little contradictory, even though I know it is a welcomed event for stakeholders that might not be a traditional attendee of any of these other types of programs. So
are we thinking we want to move this forward just at it will likely be a reduced amount, or not move it forward? Where are we at? Should I do a thumb raise, which I can't see thumbs, but rely on staff. Should we move it forward knowing that it'll be a reduced amount? How many people are for that idea? I'm for that idea. And how many people think we should say no?
Steve has his placard up.
Yeah, so, I mean, and given that our thought process and some of the others that scored at the bottom, near the bottom, not the bottom, we said in making our cuts, that would probably be a no. I mean, I would be okay with not moving forward with this, scoring the lowest out of all of them.
All of them.
Christy has her placard up.
I think one thing that the organizers may have a hard time evaluating their economic impact, the feedback from the locations that it's had before is that it is a very supported event by the businesses, the restaurants that are around that area, that helps the longevity of that location.
Yeah, I'm worried about them being unsanctioned, but maybe that's not a worry I should worry about. So for those in the room, where's the vote on this one?
I'll help you out. Maybe if would like to move it currently, we'll come back to this and kind of finalize it, but in this moment, move it forward, raise your hand. 1.
All right, so then it's a no. Should we move to any of the, I don't know, are we taking a break or anything? Should I worry about that, or are we going straight to 1 o'clock?
Certainly do that. If people would like a 5-minute break, we go till, we have till 2 today. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, while we're on break, would it be possible to maybe get a tally with the proposed no's at the moment where we're at budget to budget?
Oh, yeah.
assuming you funded them at their ask amount.
Right, just whatever the remaining amount is, just so we can kind of get an idea of where we're at compared to.
But we're not making award decisions.
Right. I'm just wondering, I mean, again, if we're still well over our potential 1.8, we still need to make some pretty
You're,
hard cuts, right?
you're substantially over. I'm confident to say that.
Well, I was hard to know with $400,000, so I don't know how substantially.
Oh, we thought-
The shuttle.
Oh, the shuttle.
Yeah, did we?
Oh, yeah,
Did we
okay.
choose not to move that?
All right,
Yeah.
good point. I will add up what the ask value for those we currently had now. Good point, okay.
All right, I'm gonna make some tea and we'll take, what, about a 5-minute break or 10 minutes? What do we want to do?
What, about 12:35 sound good? Does that work?
12:35? Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
I'm just gonna mute the microphone, so this might be loud. If people want food, we can grab food, the rest in the fridge, they don't get all weird. Does anybody who wants food who has it? Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Carrie, you ate.
I did, yes.
Chris, do you wanna grab?
But others can grab first.
So the Columbian just picked up on the press release today. So that's good. And so we're excited about that. Yes, thank you. Really appreciate that. Your guidance and insight. Is there some?
Yeah, go for it. And there's, I know there's one for me.
Is there some way that we could do that certification in? As a.
Yeah, I have to.
Because it's. I create that to be part of the culture. One of the things we're. Is, always.
Somebody wants some extra.
Approach. I mean, we couldn't do that without.
I need a key card for you. No, thank you. I need a key card to get in. It's great.
Somebody need help getting in? I got it.
It's just me.
Oh, do you need to put- Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it in a break room in the fridge there, so that's.
Because we should need it, right? And so.
Exactly.
Oh, I like your.
Scarf, that's cute. We don't.
How's the new gig? I didn't know that.
Which one? Can you not?
What's the tentative number we've sold?
I mean, that's.
So we're doing like a workshop to invite businesses to come and say, how could you?
This is the.
Because I'm in the queue.
It didn't, it's readable.
Even on Main Street.
And I'm not, because I'm not near edits, are you seeing?
The documents in the iDrive are not flash.
And things like that, but talking
None of the
about.
changes, it wasn't the same.
Should I try saving?
Wow, flowers.
Yeah, you can see it.
It's gonna have a save.
Okay, so I've been.
They just brought it.
So 1-8, no, so 1-9.
Because I saw it
They
like,
have the regional sitting.
because I saw it was like, no, so right.
Yeah, I think.
They treat. Ready to speak to that. He's from a quote from. Incorporated to our press release. That was something that
Wait, are they selling the rest of the?
We'll just say, all handles yes, no's. Say separately for
Does those sugar cookies with something at a time. And
So that's.
Yes.
but you went
The thing.
and then they package them so
And
that.
I think there's.
Perfect. That's great. What is the next page?
I'd love that.
What's the-
It just is
sugar
the,
Depends on this family from.
But
Char, I've never worked
Yeah.
with it. She's
Sweet.
had to, but-
Oh, it just.
Oh,
It's pretty fun to throw. It was.
yeah.
Sold last night.
But I am.
Dr. Valdez, I have my.
Biscuit Plaza.
And here is the cookies.
I think it was semester. Yeah.
you can go to the,
Yeah, because it was.
instead of having them print something.
Sold me.
Yeah.
Didn't sell.
Well, that's when we started war.
None of the Sonesta sold. We'll take them back. They all have franchises.
So we do have.
Sonesta did not buy, yes, Sonesta.
Yeah.
Area.
Or.
You can
all
call
this stuff.
that most of
The ones they had in culture. Sonesta didn't buy a single. They just canceled all their management. That's
So the owner is still the same.
SB.
They just had to find a new brand there.
SBC, that owned all the assets,
Uh-huh.
owns 34% of Sonesta. So they canceled all during COVID.
Let's see, yeah, we're meeting on Monday.
And then speak and present at the Veterans Day Parade.
Because.
At the ceremony. I know we've talked about Gold Star stuff, but then I realized, oh,
I'm trying to, yeah.
And everybody's like, they want they didn't buy a single thing.
Are we
Let's
actually
give great
doing something on?
They had already
Are
been
we having-
significant owners.
Yes,
in the center.
But if I'm not
They
walking
had
on trade with Gold Star, I can stay warm and dry.
44.
Just wanted to.
I mean, warm and dry is relative to the opposite.
Yeah.
so you can lecture, we'll send you an actual,
Now, is Pearson?
They backed out. And I don't see the plan B, it's like.
Well, I really want to come to mind, but.
But like your former.
No, it's built as a state. ASG. And the one I was asking for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun and.
you know,
I mean, I
Pearson
wanted
was
to see you guys.
artillery barracks.
That one.
No, they can have in Pearson. They-
Oh, it is? Oh, a resident from there. When I was young, but.
And then it went back to,
Most of it.
Most of it was.
There've been a couple that, just they overshot that.
I still tell them.
That was years ago.
Well, I think he, every time I read something.
I have set up two that.
What's that?
They actually declared. We have raised it.
So when you start these spots, nice, and you can't be, and it kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know that story.
Let me pick up.
I know the guy that came in, the room's kind of.
yeah,
That's fair. What do you think about that?
well, think about.
I know.
Oh, and I have food too. I just put it in the fridge in the break room, but there's.
See that, remember the movie, The Bee Movie?
Okay, I'm just gonna write.
So say 9:30 cookies and coffee.
Yeah.
10 o'clock ceremony starts.
Well, we did a needs and need for our.
And I think we'll get started here. Folks are ready.
We will be outside under a tent like last year.
But you can sit with a little beautiful.
Everyone back?
We may need a minute or two.
I
That's
I
okay.
have not. walked.
Someone just stepped out.
I have not walked. Sands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, right. Sure, it's sorry. I forgot about that. Sometime No, that's.
We can actually just sit down.
He was very nice. He represented. Yeah, well, you're sitting, it sounds like it's going around.
I can have a cup.
They should probably stick to.
You could have multiple
Sexy.
Oh, no.
indoor.
This getting.
Chair Fox, we're still waiting on one person, so.
Okay.
Oh, she did here.
You have one person with the restaurant.
Sorry, we were muted, Chair Fox. We're waiting on one person to return.
I think we'll ask
Okay.
you to talk and then ask you to do the intro. Harry's gonna talk. We get the intro of him will be a little longer, so it's kind of speaking,
Oh, fun.
Yes.
giving him a little longer intro.
I knew the top was thing, but I didn't know the blue about it. It's pretty fun.
He's
You
very.
got a picture taken. Yeah, that's awesome.
Situation.
I'm going for
You
family.
guys have family around. You'll probably.
It's Crimson Company's, the alumni of Crimson Company.
The daughter has been last year.
Yeah. So it's like 20.
Okay, I think everyone has returned.
Okay. Well,
Very.
Ben's daughter, like Leah.
All right, everyone in the room, I think we restarted here.
So maybe we could start with the last question, which was kind of just a tentative number of like what total we're at so far.
Assuming the no's would move forward, we're still about $100,000 overprescribed, assuming you funded their full ask amounts.
All right.
The other thing I would just remind, because we had this discussion earlier in 2025 is, again, you're not obligated to spend the full amount. What you do not spend rolls over. And I know you all had talked about this concept, I'm gonna put it in quotes, a reserve for future catalytic tourism related asks. So what you don't spend moves forward to the next year and kind of is a future resource. And you guys had talked about potentially building up kind of a reserve should something significant come to the city that we're not aware of, and just kind of having that flexibility. So I just want to make, from a previous conversation with this committee, that Terry has his placard up.
So I appreciate our conversation, our discussion. One of the things I'm missing is the last, I feel we didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but we went through each person and said yes or no for moving on. And I would appreciate if we utilize the rest of our time and could do that and just go through, even if we go in numerical order or alphabetical order, however you have it on the chart, and just come to I think it might make the best use of our time, just say yes or no for us after some discussion. What I'm recommending.
Yeah, you're suggesting we do that before we end this entire session?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking now that, I mean, if we like finish the conversation on the topic we had, that I think that if we start at the top of the list and just move our way down through the list, it might be more productive for us.
Mhm. Could we, I appreciate that, but I wonder if we could at least focus on just go to the different, like cultural enrichment and see just what the bottom score was and have a discussion about that. And then I think we have the one other of event one that we haven't talked about and oh, well, it only has one in there. So maybe just do one more discussion and then we can go through the list as a whole. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
And I say that particularly because I have thoughts on the lower scoring one too, and maybe others share that. But the Hawkinson one, my concern was one, it's outside the city. I don't really think there would be much of a spillover into Vancouver for this particular event. Given its location, I think maybe Camas, Washougal areas or others north might see more of benefit from this particular event as far as eating and lodging and whatnot. But so that's why I scored this one pretty low.
One additional bit of information related, we do have a couple events that the location is not in the city of Vancouver. So we actually consulted with city attorney's office, like, can we do that? How does that work? Their answer was there's nothing in RCW says that you have to only fund events in the city of Vancouver. But what I think we decided was, so the final step,
Right.
we contract and we would put in language around requiring room blocks and hotel promotion specific to Vancouver lodging. So that's one way we would handle that way. And because we contract with everyone we award to, we would put language in specific to it's outside, but you have to commit to room blocks and promoting the hotels in Vancouver as a kind of further Vancouver impact.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And I agree. I think I remember that was something similar. I felt like this particular disc golf event didn't have a whole lot of, can we go over that? I want.
Better.
So I don't even know
it didn't rise to my, I
Yeah.
mean, it sound like the way you promoted it was it's a new event, so it'd have to grow.
9 total paid lodging days.
Even if with that, in my opinion, even with that provision in there, I don't know that that would move a needle very much one way or the other.
So are we in agreement that this one's a no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
We're in.
No.
Oh.
So I've had personal conversation with the organizer of this, that I was a little disappointed in with the application, that it didn't necessarily reflect. So I had the conversation about the room nights. A couple of things that they told me in the in-person conversation. So this is Sean Gard now with the Parks Foundation, who is former Columbia Timbers, and being a first-time event. He said this golf course in this tournament is unique to our area. There's several in the Portland area, and that I think that there's a lot of opportunity for it to be a ongoing type tournament that attracts different overnight guest options. I think he was cautious at this application timeframe because he had just taken his role at the Parks Foundation, and that's where he put it under the cultural event versus a large tournament type event.
Terry has his placard up.
I appreciate the comments. I appreciate that you had the conversation. However, it's not in our area.
Christie has her placard up.
Sorry. And absolutely, I recall our previous conversations of events that were out at the event center. So my line of thought with this was that this would be very similar. There are not hotels in the Hawkinson area, and that the use of hotel rooms would be required to be in the hotel or the city limits.
Brian has his placard up.
My question would be, you said that there are several disc golf, and I don't know anything about disc golf, but there are several tournaments in the Portland area. Just as far as uniqueness, what would bring people to this disc golf tournament in Hawkinson if there are already several elsewhere in the metro area?
I don't know enough about them to be able to answer that question. I believe he also referenced that this new golf course or disc golf course in that area has maybe some new amenities, things like that. But I guess what I was interested in is that he has experience in developing tournaments that generate overnight rooms that gave me a little more confidence with this one going forward.
Do we have park staff in the meeting?
No, Sean, I believe.
Oh, because I know that we have disc golf courses at our Vancouver parks. Leverage Park has a disc golf course, and I would wonder if there's other Vancouver parks that have disc golf courses as well. So again, I'm not an expert at disc golf, but I know we have some in our Vancouver parks.
Steve, is that a direct, do you have a response to Chair's question?
I do.
Why don't we do Temple and then is that fine? And then Steve.
Okay.
Well, I also am not a disc golf expert. I was once with the Parks Foundation, and I recall when this park was, and this course was up for getting developed, and lacking a lot of details. My understanding is that it is somehow different, better, bigger, more tournament-y than, say, the Leverage Park one, which is probably more recreational-y. But that, to just take the opportunity while I'm talking. That said, they're looking at only an attendance of 150, only 18 predicted from 50 miles or more, only 9 paid lodging nights. It just doesn't seem like a strong, and it's outside of the city limits, so very likely that folks would be staying either in the unincorporated area or in Camas, Battleground, somewhere that's closer to the location. So I don't know that it necessarily merits moving forward at this time. Thank you.
Steve?
Thank you. My disc golf game is about like my golf game. Both are not good. So what I would say is I am familiar with Sean Jansen. To Christie's point, he does have a long history of hosting successful events in our region. In my mind, I was thinking that maybe, this is a little too soon for him to be applying for grants. Maybe perhaps he tries to get going with what he can and then come back after year one with an idea of what that actually looks like and how feasible it is. And then maybe we could see as a board what would be available.
One question, final question to the group. How likely are we ever to help provide kind of a seed grant to these new event ideas?
Christie, and then Temple.
I think that most of the ones that are under the cultural last year might have been the first time we do that kind of seed grant. So I think often is when we do that.
I think we gave one from the cultural event. You good? Okay.
All right, let's say no to this one, and then we can start going through the list. Each yes, no, as suggested. Is that Steve that recommended that we move forward more organized? Should we start at the top?
Yes.
Okay.
First
And
one
then,
is.
and just question, staff, are you logging votes? Are we going by name? How are we going to manage the vote count?
Well, if we're officially voting, looking at Curtis, I'm assuming if you have if you have a conflict, you can't, the guidelines are to not vote. So you'll need to abstain.
Yeah, because I'll have to.
And we'll remind people as we go one by one. If we work our way through them all, and then maybe at the end, it's like a larger vote. Are we comfortable with kind of moving these decisions forward or not, and having these last minute? Does that sound like?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So do you want me to call the vote and ask how many are supportive and how many are not?
I'm looking at
Does tally?
is more his proposal. Is that kind of how you are
Or
suggesting?
you just want a consensus to move forward or not?
I wasn't looking for a formal vote. I was looking for more the consensus to move forward. And if that meant that we were doing thumbs up or thumbs down or aye or nay or whatever,
Okay.
it's fine. I just wanted us to be respectful of everybody's time and just, I think we can expedite the process a little bit.
Curtis, does that sound like an okay process?
Yes, to me, yes.
Okay.
And so,
Consensus is fine.
yeah, and to move it forward, we need how many votes?
We need help.
5.
5, okay. Again, I'm not, you guys are like little tiny in my view, so I can't see how many are in the room either.
And that was my question.
So there's 9 LTAC members. 1 is missing today. So not here. So we have 8 voting LTAC members.
So 5 would be.
So 5.
All right,
We have
Unless
people
we-
and Janet and I will do thumbs up on video then for what we approve. Is that okay, Janet, with you? Okay. All right, so we'll just go through and Chris, I'll have you manage this portion because I can't see
No
when
problem.
folks vote or not vote. So if you want to go line by line and ask the question, and if we have a majority, then we move on.
Southwest Washington ALS walk. I think thumbs up if you would like to currently move it forward to the second round.
And I have to record everybody's.
We have how many are you? We have all 6 in the room with their thumbs up.
And Janet and I had our thumbs up.
Okay. We already discussed Hawkinson, so I'll move on to arts and cultural programming. To move it forward, thumbs. It looks like We have 7 of 8 with thumbs up. Day of the Dead.
Mhm.
We have in the room. We have 6 of 8 with thumbs up.
Okay,
I'm just, Chair, so if I see anything 5 or above.
yes,
Currently,
then we're moving it forward for this, for today.
thank you.
We can make finer tuned decisions at our next meeting.
So Chris, do you want to say yes then in the column?
I'm just blanks or yes to me, but I could, yeah, no, I'll do that. I'll do that.
And I'm updating the sheet with the yeses and nos or.
Yeah, we'll have to, we're gonna have to say
We're
versions.
just
We're under like shared document version control at the moment. Okay. Large event category now. Oregon Trail Bridge Tournament.
Can I make a statement? I know we're just voting.
Yeah.
Before we vote on this one, I would like to table the sponsorship to see if Visit Vancouver has already provided sponsorship too. So I think maybe that's just something we put in the notes.
Okay, is that something that information would help to move it to the second round or more around at a later time when, if you're approving and making award decisions? Just trying to.
So I think last year we said if they received funding elsewhere from like a Visit Vancouver, that we would not support funding from the board. Otherwise, it would be like a dip. I believe.
I recall the, I think it was the Lions Club for the Heathman, and it went to round 2 and we did presentation and in my opinion, it influenced the amount that we gave, but I believe we still gave. But I feel obligated to at least question this one to let you know that there might be some other funds.
Good. Good point. So you're seeking kind of that information now?
Well, yes, yeah, like if we say we're moving forward, but can we note that we'd like to qualify if it received funds from Visit Vancouver?
Okay.
Because last year we moved forward with the one that,
They would still come and present, but we would have,
We reduced the amount.
we would have that information in making awards. Okay. Cliff is in the room, so, Andrew, if you don't mind making that a note, and then Cliff will have to get from your team whether what those amounts are for later date. So, okay, am I handling that correctly? Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Okay, so going back to, at least at this stage, moving on to the second round, Oregon Trail Bridge Tournament. I see 6 in the room, 7. Yes, so it moves forward. Acid Fusion Forum.
This one, this one I'm confused by when I was reading about it, so, if we could spend 2 minutes, if someone could explain what this event was. I put that in my notes. I was not sure what they're doing. Are they bringing together real estate professionals? I wasn't sure what this event was doing.
I believe it's kind of like professional conference.
Training conference.
Training conference
Yeah.
that, like I attend ICMA as an economic development professional. I think this would be hosting for like public finance professionals or something like that in Vancouver. And I believe it would bring people from across the state, if not nationally, into Vancouver for a conference. That's maybe the simplified way to summarize that.
That is correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
It is correct.
So more of a conference than an event or festival. But it does trigger things like group nights and the other attendance kind of criteria that the RCW outlines.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
For the money, what they were gonna use it on, are they gonna use it on marketing? So it's just a saving.
We can look it up.
Large event.
Yep, it's the AWP, no, sorry, Asset Fusion Forum.
Where's the question on it? Vancouver vendors. Social. Was it gonna be room blocks? Is this clear that?
It's probably in their budget document way at the end. Oh, wait. Maybe not. A project
Budget piece doesn't include what they're asking for the funds.
Yeah.
So they're just asking for $5,000.
Yeah.
for operations, so marketing.
Promotional materials, like in their budget.
This would be one to probably ask the question again, is Visit Vancouver.
Yes, I'm waiting for the whole conversation to go through so I can make those comments. So I think this qualifies because it has contracted and proven room nights, but I also would like us to validate if it's received sponsorship from Visit Vancouver.
All right. All right, we're ready to vote.
Way to keep you up.
Oh.
We have 3 upvotes for. Chair Fox, I don't know, are you deliberating? Sorry. I didn't-
I'm not supportive of this particular one. I didn't think it hit all the notes, even though it had the room nights. It seemed to miss all the other categories that we were looking for. So maybe put a question mark there since it got 4. It was close to making it through. Okay.
2026 AWB Spring Summit. I think this is a similar kind of event. AWB Association of Washington. But Ryan apparently knows more.
No, I was gonna say, just for the vote counts, I'm an abstention on this one due to conflict of interest, so.
Okay.
So this
So-
one only needs 4 votes.
Yes. And Christie?
So yes, it's a convention. What this one does compared to the other one is that it crosses all businesses, not just one industry. The Washington Association, and I would also like to validate if it has Visit Vancouver sponsorship.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll work with Cliff afterwards on this list
Okay.
and
So I
validate
don't
them all at
abstain.
once, so we don't, we'll
Thank
make
you.
that.
Are we ready for a vote?
Yep.
Okay.
It's sideways as a no.
This is why it's good to hear from them.
No, I know.
1, 2, 3.
We have 3 in the room.
4.
And 2 online.
Concert series and wine and jazz. We have a note to follow up on. Did they do that additional part last year as referenced, but. So that's the question mark I have on there, but you captured the question.
Yeah.
Okay,
Why don't we leave that as a question and move on to the others?
okay, okay. Fort Vancouver Nutcracker. Yeah, we have.
All yeas.
All yays. We said no currently to Cruise the Couve. Let me know if I move past those, you want to talk about or rediscuss them. Craig Stein Oktoberfest. Barry?
So I would say Craigstein Oktoberfest, if we choose to move forward, this is one that we can certainly look at reducing the amount because I think we gave them 50,000 last year.
And it's, I think we did set the expectation with them that, you're not gonna get the same amount every year as you continue to build your event. So that's the only comment I had to make on that one. So.
Terry, I'm sorry, Temple?
And a further information request, I think at the time they submitted, it was so close to when the event was, they probably didn't have reporting. Would love to get that information from them, even if it is when they move forward, so that we can, I was gonna ask the same thing.
Do we have their reporting yet? We may not have it by the time we vote. They have a certain period of time, so their event just occurred. And
They have 90 days
They have
or by
90
the end of the year.
90 days or by the end of the year, so
Would it be acceptable, and asking to ask, for us to say, to help us vote on their application, it might help them. I mean, to provide some, even if it's not their report, to bring some closing information on the event.
Sure, can we make a note of that? Whatever impact data they can share.
Yeah.
Could be helpful. Okay, I hear that.
I don't recall if this was an event that had some help from Visit Vancouver or not filling out. I know some of the applicants received some help prior to, maybe if Visit Vancouver has any notes on it too, that they could provide for not just this one, but any, I don't know if that's a thought process as we move forward, any data that they're able to help us provide. We didn't interact with that one. We don't have a sponsorship for that in particular.
This one didn't strike me as being too unique for the region, but knowing that there's other Oktoberfests that happen, so it didn't score high, but I'm open to the idea of still providing funds at some level. So that's kind of where I'm at with this one. Is everybody ready to vote?
Are there other Oktoberfests in Vancouver?
Well, there's Oktoberfests in the region, and not far from us in Oregon.
Right, yeah, but I think part of why we decided to fund this last year is because it brought an Oktoberfest event to Vancouver. And that was one of the motivations behind it, because yes, there are several in the Portland area, but we're trying to help our city.
And yes, I recall it to be that way as well. And A just started an Oktoberfest, but that's not in Vancouver. But I think what we also liked about this one, or what stood out to me too, is that there was a level of free and then there was paid too. So there was both options.
Yeah, and the other thing I think we liked about it is it was charitable. It was about donating to different organizations that Craig Stein's family had selected. I think it included Share and some others.
We may want to look at their budget. As I recall, it was this one that the amount they're requesting was the exact same number as the amount they're talking about donating. So they're basically asking LTAC to subsidize what their charitable donations would be.
That's a good point.
You make that note. That would be a good question for if they move their presentation around. So I think we're ready for the thumbs.
All right.
All right, go for it. All right, we have them.
Okay.
We talked tacos. We can always come back, but I'll move on to 4 Days of Aloha.
All right.
We already have thumbs up. 2, 3.
I think we're all,
I think everyone in the room has their thumbs up.
We understand the impact of this event. Not everyone had their thumbs up.
I'm sorry, I was coughing when you said that the vote tally.
I think everyone in the room had their thumbs up. I believe Janice.
Except for one.
Oh, sorry.
Well, Temple did.
5 to 6 in the room had their thumbs up.
Right. And I think Janet and I did too. All right.
40th Pacific Northwest Mid Amateur Championship.
This one I had concerns because they said that they wanted to use the money for a lunch for the, I think that's what they said, as a lunch. It seemed, I don't know. maybe now that I say that out loud, at the time it felt weird to me that we would be providing funding for the lunch instead of something like marketing or something else more consistent with the others.
There is a fair amount of leeway. The RCW is just has to go for marketing or operations of events. So things like providing food and stuff count on the operations. But yeah, I mean, operations is a broader topic, broader category for sure.
So it seems like that's all they needed the funding for was for the lunch. Otherwise, the event could go forward. Anybody else have anything to add on this one? Since it scored pretty high.
You want to do thumbs?
Okay.
All right, we have 6 in the room. Yes.
Deanna, did you have your thumbs up? Sorry.
Pride Block Party.
That's a thumbs up for me.
I think Janet has her hand up.
Janet has her hand up. Go for it, Janet.
It's a thumbs up for me. I like the intention. It's just 100%, just about 100% of the budget was the only question or concern that I had.
Right, yeah, the amount is what I want to ask questions about. I don't know that I want to fund the full amount, but yeah, I support it moving forward.
I agree. I originally put thumbs down, but strictly because I feel like it's the full budget.
Okay.
So I think we have the thumbs. Move to the next round and obviously,
Yeah, move next round, but more to come.
Okay.
Go Fest. We have 6 thumbs up in the room.
Thumbs
Janet,
up.
Janet, go ahead.
Just a question on this, would this fall in the same category as the others where is there a substantial change to it to continue funding it? That was my only question.
Good question. It's a good question. I just I'll reiterate what I said is that 2-year, we're giving, because we started this new grant category and new kind of guidance under each category last year. The language we have that says not funding more than 2 years in a row wouldn't trigger till next year's round of applicants. That doesn't mean you don't consider it, but I just wanted to kind of flag that it's actually not a requirement where we were more at this stage signaling where we're going. Next year, that language will be slightly different. Should we choose to keep it?
I believe, in reading their application, they're using this to add a new part of the event, like some new attraction within the event, I believe, because I was thinking the same thing originally when reading it. I could be wrong. I don't have the application in front of me, but I think that they are adding an attraction within the event.
We look it up. Does that help or?
Why don't we put yes and then add those questions so that we can dive into it next time?
You got that, Andrew? Okay. Pollinator Festival.
This one was interesting. I wonder, just to throw out kind of one of my concerns is they said they had low attendance because they had poor weather last year. And they're just hoping that the weather's not going to affect their attendance this year. From a event standpoint, is there anything that, I don't know, that we would be able to ask of them to do to kind of prepare for the what if scenario? If there's bad weather? Can they go indoors to the Marshall Center?
Temple?
I don't know about that. I don't know that we would necessarily want to make a grant contingent on that. I mean, we could certainly say, hey, if you need to talk to more experienced event people, talk to the city.
Yeah.
And potentially arranging for the Marshall Center. I also know that a lot of organizations, when you have lower attendance than you want, the weather is a great external. It's both true and a great thing to mention. I would, I think it should move forward, maybe not for the amount, but it's unique. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, talk about the amount in the future, but yes, I'm the same page as you, Temple.
We're ready for a vote then?
We have 6 in the room. Vancouver Holiday Market. We already have thumbs going up.
All right,
We have 5 in the 6 in the room.
all right.
Lake Springs, I have a hard time saying this one, Lake Spring Sprints.
That was number 1 overall.
Yeah, it is number 1 overall for. We got the.
That was surprising. Oh, yeah, you already have enough votes to move that forward?
Yeah, everyone has thumbs up.
Okay,
Arts and Music Festival,
yes.
we have all 6 thumbs up here. It looks like one. Okay. We have no, so now we're on the 4 racing events, 2 of which we put no, and then we have Apple Tree and Columbia Triathlon. I think from the conversation, we had already kind of decided those as yes. Is that fair? Yes. Okay.
I think that's fair.
Let me know if I'm going too fast or.
We can always revisit no's if we need to.
Steve, is this for the next one?
Yeah, I need to abstain.
Okay. Oh. Visit Vancouver, you're abstaining from Visit Vancouver. Yes.
As our several.
Can those abstaining just put their placard up? Okay, so we have 4 in the room. Oh, we can't, how does that work?
That's part of the quorum, though.
It is
still.
part of the
They're in the
quorum.
room. They're just not voting, so yes,
So we don't have to get to 5 though.
you don't have to get to 5.
It's half of
It's
whatever.
so we have to get to,
You have to exceed,
we have to get to 3.
yes, correct.
Okay.
This is during his point, but yes.
So I don't know if there's discussion. We already have thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, yep. Great. We already said no on the tourism shuttle cultural tour. Next one is heritage tourism.
Abstaining.
Mark, Temple is abstaining from this one. Heritage tourism, marketing historic tours.
I don't have
We-
any questions. I thought the application was strong, so I'm willing to vote.
We have 5 thumbs up in the room here. And looks like thumbs up, okay. And then the final one on our list is Downtown Ambassador Program. I think we have some abstain, oh, Christie is abstaining from this one.
All right,
I have waiting.
2, 3.
We have 4 thumbs up in the room here.
and 2 online.
I'm gonna, just for sake of just trying to flag what we got here. So what I am doing is highlighting the no and no adjacent. Bear with me. How many is that? So. Do this. We have 6 no's and a no with a question mark. The one with the question mark is the Asset Fusion Forum.
Okay,
Wine and Jazz.
Sorry, did I?
Wine and Jazz has a question mark.
Oh, and. Yes, so. color code those a little bit different. The ones in blue have question marks. And I think, said we're gonna come back. So I think Acid Fusion Forum and the Wine and Jazz, I don't think we've kind of made our decisions on those.
I'd agree. We need more discussion and information. All right.
And so the more discussion and information as part of the second round process, or need it now before deciding to move it to the second round?
What I heard is that this information isn't something you guys have available to you right now. So I would say that they are not moving forward yet, but if we have information that you provide us at our next meeting, then we can make a decision whether or not to move them forward then. That's what I'm hearing.
So let me just talk through logistics here. The next meeting are presentations. So we don't have another, currently scheduled, we don't have another deliberation meeting. We would go into in-person presentations.
Well, I guess at this point then I'd ask back to my original question. I don't think that we need presentations from all of the folks that we just said yes to.
Good question. What are we trying to get on this one again?
Asset distribution. The question was the Visit Vancouver sponsorship, and then
Is Visit Bank on this one, is Visit Vancouver sponsoring currently sponsoring the Asset Fusion Forum?
For Asset Fusion, we sponsor their 2025 event. I'm not unsure if they've contracted and if we've offered or finalized anything for 26. So right now, I don't think so, but I'd have to verify.
Okay. But I think I'm just trying to make sure we are consistent with the conversation is we're not necessarily determining Visit Vancouver's sponsorship in moving to the second round. It is just something we will have information for when making potential award decisions later. Am I interpreting that correct? So I guess with that, we will get that information. We'll have that information for when you make final award decisions and award amounts. But I guess the question is, I have an N with a question mark. Are we moving them to the second round or not? Well, I got a lot of
about that.
Brian, then Terry. Yeah.
Sure. I'm looking at what they're asking, $5,000. It's a pretty small amount. Given that, I would be interested in learning more about what their plan is and what they're hoping to bring through their request. So I would support moving them forward.
Okay. Terry?
And then my comment is that, it's very similar to the event, that it's a conference. I don't know if the events, the content of the conferences are similar, but it's a conference, just like AWV Spring Summit. And I think learning more information would benefit us in making the overall decision. So I am also in favor of moving them forward.
and that was another part of the question, since they didn't note on their budget what the expenses were for. We wanted to figure out what they were spending the $5,000 fund.
And that's the question.
The thing is, didn't we already take a vote on this and they didn't pass with our vote? Our original vote, right?
Yeah, it was 4-4.
That's correct. It was split 4-4.
So extend it, invite, if they want to come.
Yeah, because Chair, you didn't vote on this one.
I voted no. I didn't vote. I didn't vote in support.
We only have 8 voting members, so, because,
So we had a tie is what you're saying.
yeah,
All right, so with a tie, let's move it forward.
okay.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Again, it's the obvious, but if the main purpose of this is to generate back into the lodging nights, this does have proven room nights to it.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So I have that as a yes. Is that interpreted? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, concert series, wine and jazz. I think we have questions about, did you do the concert component of it that you said you were gonna do last year, and now you're saying that's the new addition, so we need to clarify that, and we'll, and we have some we can check on their invoicing and stuff like that. We'll have to do that after the meeting.
Oh, sorry.
Carla, oh,
That was kind of my question, as Andrew said, what they paid for, so
Yeah.
they didn't pay for what they applied for, so it kind of
Okay.
doesn't seem that they would have done that.
Yeah, and the award last year was only 5,000, 57.
5,700.
Yeah.
Something like that.
There was
So-
a message there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Janet is her hand up.
Janet.
Maybe it's just a clarification question on this. So the eligibility to get continued funds was based on an increased element, but did we say that that increased element was the only way they could use the funds?
Actually, no,
So,
that requirement, if they've received an award 2 years, doesn't trigger till next year because we didn't start this till last year. So last year, any applicant has, last year and this year, next year, if they apply, then they have to kind of prove that they're increasing attendance and we have the target of 20%, or have a demonstrated approach to draw in new communities that haven't typically participated in the event. So you can look at that by demographics, or perhaps you can look at it some other way. That's the criteria. None of that actually triggers until next year, because next year is year 3 under our new format. So it's not a requirement this year. We signal at it to give these event organizers a heads up that's coming. And this is consistent with, I have had a few emails about, does it apply now or not? And the way I've responded is, we're only in year 2, so it would trigger next year, but we wanted you to be aware of that kind of going forward.
right, but for this particular one that we're talking about, the wine and jazz, it's related to the silent movie. So what we're just doing is verifying what they applied. I can't remember what they applied specifically for. And if that's the silent movie, then we would question, not
Sure. Okay.
the continued years.
Gotcha.
Is that correct?
I think that's correct. We have some questions about last year's application, what they did, how that relates to what they're saying in this year's. So we'll have to address those in there. They do Q&A questions. We can maybe tee it up in advance, come prepared to answer this question.
It did seem that this particular application, they were very much focused on if they get the funding, then they will do this new aspect. And if they don't get the funding, then they won't. I thought they were pretty clear about that piece of the proposal. Am I wrong about that, at least for this year's application?
I believe that was correct.
Okay. Do we want to vote on this then? Because if we have to vote to move it forward or not move it forward.
Guess we're looking for thumbs. We have 2 thumbs up in the room, so I do not believe it moves forward.
Well.
And me. It's got 3 votes is all though, right? Is that what we're saying?
We only have 4 thumbs up.
Okay,
I did that right? Yeah, we have 4 thumbs up.
all right then.
Okay, let me. Six, 7. As it currently stands, we would move forward 21 of the 28 to the next round.
Could I now raise the question of, do we really need to interview 21?
Right.
If I recall, we had a large number that went through to the second round last year, and I was amazed at how efficient and how quickly the process went. So I think it just makes it easier to bring them all in because the dollar amounts could change, our award levels could change. So I would be in favor of bringing the 21 in As again, I think it was a pretty efficient and smooth process last year.
So last year we did 20 presentations. This year we're doing 21. One thing I'll just flag for awareness. We would probably need to utilize 3 meetings to do this. Because we can do 10. We have 3 hours and we usually have to have the first up like 15 minutes just approving things and minutes and et cetera, maybe public comment, kind of get those things out of the way. And then that leaves 10 left in that block. So 21 would trigger 3 meetings. You have more than 21?
I'm gonna teach you how to use the filter function on Excel.
22. Correct.
Yeah.
We would move, so we would be utilizing,
We'd have to.
we'd have to utilize 3, maybe not all 3 hours in all 3, but we would utilize the next 3 meetings for presentations.
And that's if everybody signs up.
That's if everyone signs up. It is optional.
Nope, nope, just saying not everybody.
Everyone
I
did
mean,
last.
last year they did.
We should.
Okay. Sorry. Oh, sorry, Temple, you were up.
I want to hear what you said.
I was just gonna say, what if we took the top vote getter from each category and?
Except for the destination tourism, because that's.
Correct. If we're trying to get it under a number, we only have to be here twice, you know, if we overwhelmingly.
So if you were the number 1 score, you automatically, you don't have.
We could still determine the dollar amount, you know, when we have our discussion, but.
We don't need to see them.
Right, they don't need to prove their case further, their top scoring.
Other than Visit Vancouver, because they're the only one in that category, and you have 4 LTAC members that are on their board.
That's right. And they have the largest ask amount
Yes.
too, which drives a lot of this.
Correct, yeah.
I'm not opposed to that at all. And to add to it, there's a couple on here that we've seen before and their application isn't actually very different. I'm thinking Day of the Dead, Nutcracker, Days of Aloha. We have questions for Oktoberfest. We've only seen them once before. Possibly the marathon and the try. That we may have enough information to have the discussion because it doesn't seem like they're bringing forward new information that we need to ask about. So maybe that those can be not interviewed.
So I am curious, what would they say if we didn't invite them and they think that, that could have given them an opportunity to say something that maybe, that's the only comment I make.
It's a,
Did anyone decline the option last year? Everyone showed
No,
up.
everyone.
I think everyone kind of or
Yeah.
interpreted this as, look, if we want the money, show up.
Didn't somebody not show up last year?
I think maybe one.
One or two.
I remember
That-
everybody.
Did they all show up?
Could we,
Can we,
maybe here's a thought, and I'm thinking about a grant program for the tribes that I manage, and when we were they were all great, grateful that they were awarded funding, but then there were just some disappointments of reduced funding, when the reduced funding decisions were happening and they weren't in the room. That was, something that we've had to change since that time. And so when you guys are talking about who to bring into the room, I think that's what I'm hearing too, is that they perhaps want to know in advance if we're thinking of reducing the amount that they've asked for. So do all of these applicants have a sense before we invite them in the room that their full amount that they're asking for might not be awarded to them?
No,
No.
that's not told to them. If we just,
We asked a question whether if they receive partial funding, would that impact their ability to move for the event at all? And I think every single one says, we really want full funding. If we don't get, we'll we'll figure it out, or we'll slightly reduce the scope, but no one said, oh, if we don't get full funding, we're not doing the event.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still still learning your guys's norm here, but yeah, so again, that's the only reason why I'm asking about if we say the top, the top scorers wouldn't need to come in, but maybe they do if the amount they've asked for is reduced, maybe they might think that had they come in, they may have been able to advocate for more funding. Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, as an observer, not a voter, you reflecting on last year's process, you did it based on the presentations and what you learned. I do believe that did impact up or down on maybe how you were thinking prior to that in terms of the amount. So
Could we look at the top one on each category and see what they asked and then make a decision or not we them with everyone else?
you could.
I will also say the other option is if we do have to spend, I mean, we already will have to probably have that third meeting since we've gone above 20. But if we spend the first 20 minutes of for the third meeting of 2 more presentations or something, is that gonna, and then follow it with the remainder to finalize awards? That work? Or are we?
Finalizing
looking-
award is a totally different meeting.
Yeah.
So we don't even do that in the presentation meetings. We then reconvened after we
Right,
let things settle. You guys
that might be.
and kind of did, and then we came back for a totally separate meeting
Yeah.
with none of them in the room. Obviously, kind of a meeting like this where you kind of confirmed them out. So that's a separate meeting yet.
So we're looking at not to, we don't wanna combine those two.
All of our meetings are public, so they could have come.
Yeah. Anyone can cover it, for sure.
All right, well, just looking at cultural enrichment, our number one on that category, they're asking 24,000 out of a $228,000 budget. It seems fairly relevant or reasonable to me, knowing that that's for a monthly event. I think that was what they were asking for. So I'm not sure that we would need to significantly lower that particular ask, where they'd have to come in and defend it. What do you guys think?
Make sure, I think what I'm hearing for the
I'm
ones
not
that are
asking
not,
for us to settle on the particular amount, but I'm just wondering, just to clarify my question, if we think that there's going to be if we think that they might see a significant cut in what they're asking, then they should probably be invited to come in. If the reason we think that their funding might be cut is more of a balancing the books because we have to have 5% off the top of everyone to balance that particular line item, that's not the same as the question I'm asking of having them come in and defend their full ask from a bigger cut, like a 50% cut. Does that make sense?
Carla has her plaque.
I'm kind of going back with Terry and Ryan. I do think that having everyone have the opportunity to speak and really saying the same thing kind of is good. Even though it's the number one in this category, it's only 36 room nights. So 24,000 is not a huge ask compared to their whole budget. But if we do get down to a tight budget, to me, this would still not necessarily weigh in as heavily as others. So I would still like to see everybody have the opportunity. They don't have to, but if they want to come, and maybe when we send the invite, one of the things can be is that for many, we could be looking at reduced funding compared to your ask. And that might let them decide if they even want to come and present or not. But it's only 36 room nights, so it's not many.
So. Sorry, Chrissy?
That's okay. Thank you. This does have several elements of new programming that I would like to learn more about before we voted on funds. One of which is revamping the First Friday Art Walk in downtown. So that's where I feel like they applied very well, but I think they need to validate what they're doing since it's new. We don't have any other references to it.
All right, so although I appreciate the idea of reducing the amount of folks we're gonna interview, it sounds like the consensus is to just bring them all in, just to be sure. Okay.
Here's what I can propose, because I am conscious of how much effort and time this takes, right? Like, the number of meetings, the length of them. I think there is a path to still do this whole thing in only 3 more meetings. And then reserve that 4th one. It just didn't work out. We need to reconvene, and maybe we could even do that virtually too, right? Is the next 2 would be kind of the full 10 each. And then we have a couple stragglers left over. We have them come in on that 3rd meeting. It'll only be 30 minutes. I think if everyone came 30 minutes total, that leaves 2.5 hours to, they would leave, and then we would transition immediately into awards and award amounts. So I do think there's a path to get this all done in 3 more meetings, not 4. We'll reserve the 4th just if it doesn't happen, but if that brings some more comfort to the amount of time that still sits in front of us.
If we're that close to the time, the next 2 meetings, do we just extend those for 30 minutes?
That's an option.
And that way, with that last meeting, we can just go right into a regular meeting and deliberating and try and get everything knocked out ahead of time. And my other question, and this is possibly a no-no according to rules. I mean, do we really have to have a big 20 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, or can we really just review the last minutes from this meeting and just go into allowing the presentations? I said,
From-
you know, no.
Yeah, from experience, we're not always the best at starting exactly on time. Usually there's like a 5 minutes, so there's 5.
Absolutely.
And this would only be the getting 10 in, means us 15 minutes non-presentation. So sometimes you start a little late,
Gotcha.
approve the minutes, and we will have to still have a slot for public comment.
Okay.
And you have to reserve that. So we would have public comment there. So I do think
Just
that
extend 15 or 20 minutes. If we just have 2 extra, that would just be 1 extra each day.
The room's available. And as long as everyone's saying that they would be available
for both.
on the 28th and the 7th.
So we could extend this room. We could probably just be safe and extend it a half hour on each. Get through all the presentations in 2 meetings. We would still need a 3rd meeting, but pretty much guaranteed this would be wrapped up in the 3rd meeting. I'm looking around, like, just if, I'm not seeing any no's to extending it.
The dates again?
The 28th, October 28th.
Okay.
That mean we'd be extending it until 4 p.m. And then on November 7th, we would be extending the meeting to 3:30.
Does November 7th start at a different time?
It starts at 12. Yeah,
Oh.
it's a 12 to 3. I'm sorry.
Yes. It was enough to.
And then when's the 3rd meeting?
Their meeting is, I think it's November 12th.
The 3rd meeting's November 12th, and that's, and we, assuming we're adding additional time, the other 2, and we have everyone present, we wouldn't need to extend master meeting.
You said we'd be canceling that meeting if we get it done in the next 2.
No, we'd be canceling the November 14th meeting, which was the additional. So that gave us 3 meetings to do presentations and finalize recommendations. So the 14th was just an additional in case we needed it. So that one could potentially be
Yeah,
canceled.
I feel pretty confident we wouldn't need the one on the 14th.
Okay.
Or not the one on the 12th, but do the 14th, either one. We need one of those ones, and we would need to utilize either November 12th or November 14th,
Okay,
but not both.
all right.
Okay,
You
so
guys sure about this? Holy moles.
I mean,
Okay.
this assumes that everyone signs up. There is a cutoff date for the applicants to sign up to present, and if they don't hit that cutoff date to sign up, then,
But they all did last year, so
but
I
they all
think,
did last
I
year.
think we would need to assume they would, and
Yeah.
maybe you're surprised if they don't. But can I just make sure, we're gonna extend. You know, with the dates.
Yeah,
again?
we're gonna extend the October 28th meeting, 30 minutes, so it'll be 12:30 to 4 PM. Then we're going to extend the November 7th meeting, 30 minutes, so it'll be a 12 to 4.
And then, do we wanna
Or
Keep-
12,
12:30?
sorry, 12 to 3:30, I apologize, on the 7th, so it'll be 12 to 3:30.
And then our final meeting, do we want to make a call now? Do you want to do it on November 12th or November 14th?
I think we keep,
I need to check my work schedule, and I don't have it up, so I'd appreciate maybe us just getting back to staff on that, if that's all right.
Okay, so we'll,
The 11th is a federal holiday.
what is?
The 11th is so the day before the 12th is a federal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's Veterans Day.
I guess I would probably weigh in as the 14th being a better one for me without looking at my calendar.
Okay. We'll follow up saying, do you have preference over the 12th or the 14th? And we'll get that. We don't have to decide now. We have both reserved, so we're good. But we will extend the two upcoming ones a half hour, and we'll invite everyone in for a presentation.
Yes.
And then
That's
by
where we're at.
Okay, that's where we're at. And then by the time we get to that final meeting, Visit Vancouver will share with us which of the 22 remaining they're sponsoring. That will weigh into your award amount conversation. And then we have question notes that maybe we'll send around to this group saying, as they present as part of your Q&A, these would be questions we heard you want to follow up on with them on to get answers from. Does that sound like a good process? Okay. Fair Fox, does that sound like a,
Yes, it does. Sounds like you've captured it.
right?
So are we ready to move on to our other business, our next item on the agenda? Or do we need a minute to transition?
I believe we are on the road.
So I don't know what the other business is.
Oh, let me, no, actually, the only other thing I had was our calendar. And we just talked about it. So we just did, from my perspective, the other business.
All right. So then we can move on to community communications. Do we have anyone in the room that wants to speak to this committee? Or online, I guess, as well?
Nope, not seeing it.
All right, then we'll close community communications. And we're right to adjournment. Is that correct? Or is there anything else? All right, then I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
I heard a second. Okay, all in favor?
I
All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for your time and energy on this one. The big lift for sure.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a great weekend.